The following review has been taken from an episode of BOFAS on the Sofas. Now, before we get to that, I can relate to the feeling of building myself a wall brick by brick by brick. Now, the wall that I contain myself with is listening to music on the record player. And I think I know exactly what I'm going to be listening to. So Pink Floyd's The Wall. Where do we even begin with this movie? It's literally the story about Roger Waters' life of his growing up when he was a small child, and it's brought onto screen. You got Bob Geldof, who is playing as the older Pink, and it's basically going through different sources of bad mental frustrations throughout his adult life.
There's times where I think he overdoses and he goes berserk after figuring out what's going on with his wife cheating on him, and he just loses his mind, and in his mentality he ends up becoming his worst enemy, which is a dictator.
And
which highly resembles World War II. Why World War II, or especially in Germany, is because he lost his father at a very young age due to World War II and the Nazi regime.
And the thing is that in the beginning of this movie, when it started off, now we all know about the wall, the actual record itself.
The Berlin Wall.
Yeah. The thing
it represents
right over there.
I was going to say, it represents two things in this movie. One, the actual it represents the Berlin Wall and how it separated, North and South Germany, and the other one is the wall, how he uses it to isolate himself from the world, but when he does that, he ends up going fucking insane.
Yeah. The thing is that when he was a young boy, he obviously the album itself, it's literally one of the greatest, if not you could say the greatest record that's ever been brought upon.
I think it is the greatest album of all time.
Before the actual movie came out, the record itself was literally a goddamn story that was being given to us right there.
The record came out 3 years before the movie.
I know, but I'm just saying that the record itself, it was literally a fucking movie right there. It's just all audio with music.
And Roger Waters, he also wrote the movie Pink Floyd's
Which is crazy that he had such amazing talent. I mean, obviously for songwriting, but for him to actually construct a movie like this says a lot. Now, the movie itself, I'm not saying this is a bad thing, because the movie itself, it is fucked up, but I'm saying it for the right reasons, because it's dealing with a lot of sensitive subjects.
I will say this. There are there's a lot of artistic visuals in this. Some of it where it can get a little out of hand,
It can be a little,
especially with the judge, which what he looks like, you're just be like, what the fuck? Yeah. But some of the other visuals, it actually plays along with the overall story that is told through Pink's perspective.
Now, we all know in the younger years, British elementary schools.
Oh, they were fucking.
They were just bad. Like, if you did something wrong, if you said something wrong, you would have gotten a fucking smack on the wrist or just the spankings in general. And the thing is that, like mentioned, Pink's father ended up getting, taken
away from him due to World War II because of
his mother. His mother didn't want nothing to do with them. Siblings, forget about it. So Pink was he had to take care of himself from a young age up to his adult years. And the school system was nothing better. As he became an adult, because, for his perspective, for him being a young man, trying to, get through life and everything, being in a terrible place, he ends up meeting a woman that he falls in love with and thinking that, what, is this woman going to bring my life back together and actually make me feel like I'm worth something?
It ends up worse because she ends up not only cheating on him, but leaving on him, and this ends up him isolating himself in his hotel room, and he feels trapped in his room, and he feels like another brick in the wall. Hindsight.
Yeah, he literally lost his fucking sanity. I mean, he looked like shit. Literally, he was in his fucking underwear. He had scruffy face all over. He literally looked like shit. As soon as he smashed that guitar through the TV there, recapping of the wedding, his wife, how he was in love with her, but they realized exactly, you know what? I allowed somebody in my wall that I've kept built around myself, and now I have to rebuild that layer back up again, and thus became his drug addiction, to where he ended up becoming his own worst nightmare.
This is like in this bad state because Pink's manager, he's the one that found him in the hotel room. He was unresponsive. He was OD'd, but in this state, this is where he ends up becoming a dictator, and he ends up building this fascist rally, which, like you said, you know, it attacks people like blacks, gays, Jews, just like the Nazi regime did.
And the thing is that this was something that Pink did not want at all. But like I mentioned,
this was going on in his mind. Yeah.
After all the shit that's happening from his younger years to his adult years, it just fucking drove him to sanity and became everything that he did not want to become. Talk about an origins of a villain story, and it's crazy to think that. And the thing is that the way that it was dealing with a lot of these topics and how the music was blending, literally just telling the story from scene to scene right there, from the beginning to end. How the music stuff, like each song, it captivated literally the entire story right there. There was little to zero dialogue in this whole entire movie because
there wasn't that much dialogue.
The music was literally the story being told right there. That was your dialogue right there. And the way that it captivates, the way that it was shot, the production itself, it's fucking trippy. And again, the movie itself is quite disturbing. However, though, that is technically the point. It's supposed to be disturbing, but at the same time, though, it's captivating. You could say real life shit.
But with the movie, okay, a lot of people, like with the fascist rally, you had the marching hammers and shit. That's pretty much the goose step. If you don't know what that is, the goose step, it's a special march step, which is performed during formal military parades and other fashions. Hence, the Nazi regime.
And it's something to me how it's really made. Okay, Roger Waters as a writer, not only as a musician, but how he's able to take a story like this and really brought in real life shit that happened in history and turn it into this film. Christ almighty. It's like you're just seeing an eye-opener right there of real life shit that happened and just being brought again by someone who just couldn't be saved and ended up becoming his own worst enemy.
And let me read a quote that Roger Ebert, because Roger Ebert actually nailed it when it comes to his review, and this is what he said. Roger Ebert, he described The Wall as a stunning vision of self-destruction and one of the most horrifying musicals of all time. Not horrifying as in bad, I mean horrifying as in bleak, dark, just insane. But the movie is effective. The music is strong and true. The images are like sledgehammers. And for once, the rock and roll hero isn't just a spoiled narcissist, but a real suffering image of all the despair of this nuclear age. This is a real good movie. He nailed it. He nailed it.
That right there is the best way to describe what Pink Floyd's The Wall is. However, as for what I would describe it in like 3 words, dark, spooky, and just crazy.
For me, it's haunting, surreal, and insane.
And however, though, with how Roger Waters just gave us this movie, it's amazing how he was able
to. It is true because, him and Dave Gilmour, I think he's the other lead person behind Pink Floyd. Yeah, they did not play it very well. Director Alan Parker, he also directed a movie called Mississippi Burning.
Oh.
That is a very powerful movie. Gene Hackman. Alan Parker also did another movie I was familiar with. Let me see what he did here. Don't worry, it won't take me long to find. Okay, here we go. He also did Midnight Express.
With Bobby Eaton and Stan Lee.
God, would you fuck off?
Great tag team, man.
And Jim Cornette.
Yes, sir.
Oh, you prick.
overall, Pink Floyd's The Wall, man. Now, him and I can both agree that we're not at all fans of art house movies.
I'm not. I hate them. And this is one of the very rare occasions where I can say,
it's passable.
Wow, it worked.
Because the thing is that the movie makes sense, and there's
it's got good imagination.
And by the way, Gary, this is where we talk about visual presentation.
Shut the fuck up. So, as for an overall rating for Pink Floyd's The Wall, I can't say perfect 5. However, I can't say
I don't know what to give this, to be honest with you.
I can't say 4 out of 5, but I can meet around the middle and say 4.5 out of 5. That's what I can say for me. Because it definitely reaches up that full potentials of just visual presentation, using music to tell your story right there, and take a real life shit that happened in history and turning it into an adaptation.
When it comes to like a music movie, you don't get too many films like this. I don't think there is another film like this.
No,
but that's what makes it stand out. And unlike other art house films where they just use their platforms just to be a complete and utter jerk off asshole, like Darren Aronofsky or Lars von Trier or Gaspar Noé or all those other fuck faces. Roger Waters did it to express his past and what he had to deal with. He wasn't attacking anybody.
No, it
or
was
hating on something. He was telling his own story
about what happened.
Perspective. Yes, there's a big fucking difference.
Oh yes, and how Roger Waters was able to do that it's crazy.
It's pretty insane. Yeah,
that's gonna have to do it for the review.
That's the review.
Very good.
And
I will watch it soon.